Now our ABC News exclusive with Sharon and Ozzy Osbourne, their first TV interview since Ozzy's recovery from a major operation. Chris Conley sat down with them and he joins us now.
Who is patient number 9?
Me, I suppose. The last 4 years have been sheer hell for me. I've been in such a bad health way.
For over 5 decades, the Prince of Darkness has reigned supreme. Ozzy Osbourne, the man who helped birth heavy metal itself, has defied death, addiction, and everything in between. From the groundbreaking darkness of Black Sabbath to his explosive solo career, Ozzy's influence isn't just undeniable, it's immortal. But now, the man who once seemed invincible faces a battle that no amount of rock and roll rebellion can overcome. The stage that once trembled beneath his feet has become a mountain he can no longer climb. His wife and manager of 42 years, Sharon Osbourne, has just shared a devastating update that has left the rock community reeling. What is this heartbreaking news? What challenge is the legendary Ozzy Osbourne facing that has even the fiercely determined Sharon preparing to say goodbye? Join us as we dive deep into Sharon's emotional revelation, Ozzy's courageous battle, and the final curtain call for one of music's most enduring icons. Born John Michael Osbourne on December 3rd, 1948, in the industrial heart of Birmingham, England, Ozzy emerged from poverty to redefine what rock music could be. As the frontman of Black Sabbath, he didn't just sing. He channeled something primal, something that connected with millions who felt like outsiders. With Tony Iommi's bone-chilling guitar riffs, Geezer Butler's thunderous bass, and Bill Ward's pounding drums behind him, Ozzy's voice became the soundtrack for a generation seeking something real in an increasingly artificial world. His stage presence was hypnotic. Part showman, part shaman. The bat-biting, dove-decapitating wild man created a persona so powerful that it transcended music to become cultural mythology. But behind the makeup and mayhem was a man battling his own demons. Addiction, mental health struggles, and the pressure of being Ozzy Osbourne 24/7. When he left Black Sabbath in 1979, many thought his career was over. They couldn't have been more wrong. With guitarist Randy Rhoads by his side, Ozzy launched a solo career that would eclipse even his Sabbath success. Crazy Train, Mr. Crowley, Bark at the Moon, each track further cemented his legacy as metal's ultimate icon. In 2002, MTV's The Osbournes introduced him to a whole new generation, revealing the surprisingly tender family man behind the Prince of Darkness persona. Through it all, one woman remained his anchor, Sharon Osbourne. Their love story is as unconventional as Ozzy himself. Sharon Arden, daughter of notorious music manager Don Arden, first met Ozzy while working for her father, who was managing Black Sabbath. When Ozzy was fired from the band in 1979 due to his escalating substance abuse, Sharon took a chance on him, both professionally and personally. She became his manager when no one else would touch him, crafting a solo career from the ashes of his Sabbath departure. Their relationship wasn't just business. It blossomed into a passionate, tumultuous romance that led to marriage in 1982. "Everyone thought I was crazy," Sharon once revealed. "Taking on Ozzy was like adopting a wild animal. But I saw something in him that others didn't. A brilliant, sensitive soul underneath all the chaos." Their partnership survived challenges that would have destroyed most relationships. Ozzy's continued battles with addiction, his 1989 arrest for attempting to strangle Sharon while intoxicated, cancer diagnoses for both, and countless other trials. Through it all, Sharon has been more than just Ozzy's wife. She's been his protector, his business mind, his caretaker, and sometimes his savior. She transformed him from a washed-up rock star to a global icon, masterminding Ozfest and engineering his many comebacks. But now, Sharon faces her greatest challenge yet, watching the love of her life battle an enemy no amount of money, love, or determination can defeat. In early 2020, on an episode of Good Morning America, Ozzy and Sharon shocked fans with a revelation that had been kept private for months. Ozzy had been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, a progressive neurological disorder that causes tremors, stiffness, and difficulty with coordination and balance. "It's been terribly challenging for us all," Ozzy admitted during that emotional interview. "I did my last show New Year's Eve at the Forum. Then I had a bad fall. I had to have surgery on my neck, which screwed all my nerves. The diagnosis came after years of health struggles. In 2003, Ozzy nearly died in an ATV accident that left him with multiple fractures. In 2019, he suffered pneumonia so severe it forced him into intensive care. Later that same year, a fall in his home dislodged metal rods that had been surgically implanted in his spine after the ATV accident, requiring emergency surgery. Dr. Michael Oken, a neurologist specializing in Parkinson's disease, explains, Parkinson's is a progressive disorder that affects the nervous system. It's caused by a loss of cells in a specific area of the brain, leading to decreased dopamine production. This results in tremors, rigidity, and eventually severe mobility issues. For someone like Ozzy, whose identity has been so intrinsically linked to his physical presence on stage, his movement, his energy, his ability to command an audience, Parkinson's represents a particularly cruel fate. In her recent intimate interview with The Sun, Sharon Osbourne revealed the devastating progression of Ozzy's condition. What began as occasional tremors has evolved into something far more debilitating. "It's heartbreaking to watch," Sharon confessed, her voice breaking. The man who once commanded stadiums, who would run across the stage for hours, now struggles to stand. His Parkinson's has progressed to the point where he can no longer walk independently. The brutal honesty of her words struck fans like a physical blow. The image is almost impossible to reconcile. The wild man of rock, known for his boundless energy and frenetic stage presence, now confined by his own body. Sharon explained how the disease has specifically targeted Ozzy's legs, making even the simplest movements a monumental challenge. On good days, he can manage a few steps with support. On bad days, which are becoming more frequent, he's completely dependent on his wheelchair. When initially diagnosed, both Ozzy and Sharon maintained optimism. "It's not a death sentence," Sharon had reassured fans at the time. They believed that with proper treatment and management, Ozzy might continue performing in some capacity. "We were naive," Sharon admitted in her recent interview. "We thought we'd make some adjustments, change a few things in our routine, and carry on. We had no idea how aggressive this disease could be." The reality has been far harsher than either of them anticipated. What began as a hopeful battle has transformed into a grueling war of attrition, one that has fundamentally altered their lives. Sharon has now become Ozzy's primary caregiver, a role she's embraced with characteristic determination. Their home has been transformed to accommodate his needs, with ramps, specialized equipment, and medical supports installed throughout. For someone with advanced Parkinson's, the home environment needs significant modification, explains Dr. Rachel Thompson, a specialist in adaptive living. Everything from wider doorways for wheelchair access to specialized bathroom fixtures becomes essential. For Sharon, the transition from manager and wife to full-time caregiver hasn't been easy, but it's one she's undertaken without hesitation. "Our days have a new rhythm now," Sharon explained. "Mornings are for physical therapy. Ozzy still fights. That rebellious spirit hasn't left him. He pushes through exercises that exhaust him because he refuses to surrender completely. Afternoons are for rest, and evenings are our time together, watching films, listening to music, reminiscing." The couple who once traveled the world, managed global tours, and lived life at breakneck speed now find meaning in smaller moments. A shared joke, a favorite song, the comfort of simply being together. Despite his physical limitations, Ozzy's mind remains sharp, his dark humor intact. In a recent segment on his Sirius XM show, Ozzy Speaks, he quipped, "I've made it to 2025. I can't walk, but you know what? For all my complaining, I'm still alive. Most of my friends aren't. So who's the real winner here?" That defiant spirit, the same one that powered him through decades of addiction, accidents, and adversity, continues to burn, even as his body fails him. After years of uncertainty surrounding his health, Sharon has announced that Ozzy is preparing for one final monumental farewell, a historic reunion with his Black Sabbath bandmates for a performance in Birmingham, his hometown, scheduled for July 5th, 2025. Titled Back to the Beginning, this concert will mark the first time in 20 years that the original lineup, Ozzy Osbourne, Tony Iommi, Geezer Butler, and Bill Ward, will share the stage together. For Ozzy, performing one last time in the city that birthed him, both literally and musically, holds profound significance. Birmingham was where a working-class boy named John Osbourne first dreamed of escaping poverty through music. It's where Black Sabbath formed, where heavy metal itself was born from the industrial sounds and bleak landscapes of a post-war industrial city. When Sharon called about this final show, there was no hesitation. Cher's Tony Iommi, Black Sabbath's legendary guitarist. Whatever differences we've had over the years mean nothing now. This is about honoring not just what we created together, but Ozzy himself, the voice and the heart of Sabbath. The logistics of the performance will be challenging. Sharon has worked closely with medical professionals to ensure Ozzy can participate safely. While he won't be able to move around the stage as he once did, arrangements are being made to accommodate his limitations while preserving the power of his presence. We're designing a special throne that will allow Ozzy to be comfortable while still connecting with the audience, explains Name, the production designer for the event. The staging, lighting, and production are all being created to emphasize his voice and presence rather than physical movement. For fans, this represents a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, not just to see Black Sabbath perform together one last time, but to witness the conclusion of one of rock's greatest stories. As news of Ozzy's condition and the final concert spread, fans worldwide have responded with an outpouring of love and support. Ozzy's music saved my life during my darkest times, shares Dave Kilminster, who's planning to travel from Australia for the final show. The least I can do is be there to say thank you and goodbye. Another longtime fan, Jessica Weathers from California, reflects, "I've seen Ozzy 23 times over 4 decades. His concerts weren't just shows, they were communions, places where misfits like me found belonging." Many fans are commemorating Ozzy's impact on their lives through tattoos, tribute videos, and by sharing personal stories of how his music affected them. From veterans who found solace in his lyrics during combat, to teenagers discovering his classics today, Ozzy's reach spans generations and backgrounds. What Ozzy created wasn't just entertainment, explains Brian Cahew, a music therapist who studies the psychological impact of heavy metal. For many people, his music provided catharsis, validation, and a sense of community. That's why this farewell resonates so deeply. It's not just about a musician retiring, it's about saying goodbye to something that shaped identities. To truly understand the significance of this moment, we must appreciate the extraordinary journey that brought Ozzy here. Born into grinding poverty in post-war Birmingham, young John Osbourne's early life was marked by hardship. His working-class family struggled to make ends meet. His father, Jack, working nights as a toolmaker, his mother, Lillian, laboring in a factory. As the fourth of 6 children in an overcrowded home, he often felt overlooked. His struggles with undiagnosed dyslexia made school an exercise in humiliation rather than education. By age 11, he had suffered sexual abuse at the hands of school bullies, an experience that left deep psychological scars. Early trauma, particularly when combined with learning disabilities that weren't recognized or addressed, creates a perfect storm for later problems, explains Dr. Sarah Chen, a psychologist specializing in childhood trauma. For many survivors, finding an expressive outlet becomes crucial for survival. For Ozzy, that outlet initially took destructive forms. By his teens, he had attempted suicide multiple times and developed a pattern of delinquency that eventually landed him in Winston Green Prison at age 17 for burglary. His life changed forever when he heard the Beatles' "She Loves You" at age 14. It was like being hit by a lightning bolt, Ozzy would later recall. "I knew at that moment I was going to be a rock star for the rest of my life." After prison, he began pursuing music seriously, answering an advertisement for a vocalist that led to the formation of what would become Black Sabbath. When Black Sabbath released their self-titled debut album in 1970, they created more than just music. They birthed an entirely new genre. The dark, heavy sound, influenced by horror films and the industrial landscape of Birmingham, spoke to something primal in listeners. What made Black Sabbath revolutionary wasn't just their sound, but their honesty, explains Paul Brannigan, music historian. They addressed fear, war, depression, social alienation, subjects that mainstream rock avoided. Ozzy's voice became the vessel for those uncomfortable truths. By 1979, Ozzy's addictions had spiraled so out of control that his bandmates fired him from Black Sabbath. It should have been the end of his career. Instead, it was just the beginning of a new chapter. Meeting guitarist Randy Rhoads and manager Sharon Osbourne, later Osbourne, proved transformative. His 1980 solo debut, Blizzard of Oz, stunned critics and fans alike with its technical brilliance and commercial appeal. Crazy Train became more than a hit. It became an anthem. The tragic death of Randy Rhoads in a 1982 plane crash devastated Ozzy but didn't derail his career. Throughout the 80s and 90s, he continued releasing influential albums while battling his personal demons, primarily alcoholism and drug addiction. The MTV reality show The Osbournes, which aired from 2002 to 2005, introduced Ozzy to a new generation, revealing the surprisingly tender family man behind the wild persona. The show's success made the Osbournes household names and showcased the strength of Ozzy and Sharon's relationship. Throughout it all, health crises loomed. The 2003 ATV accident nearly killed him. Struggles with addiction continued despite multiple rehab attempts. In 2010, scientists even sequenced Ozzy's genome to understand how he had survived decades of substance abuse that would have killed most people. Ozzy's genetic makeup shows some fascinating mutations, explained Dr. Sarah Chen, who worked on the Genome Project. He has several genetic variants that may have helped his body process alcohol and drugs differently than most people. But even Ozzy's remarkable constitution has its limits. When Parkinson struck, it presented a challenge that even his unique genetics couldn't overcome. Through every high and low, Sharon has remained Ozzy's rock. Their relationship has weathered storms that would have destroyed most marriages. From Ozzy's infidelities and violent outbursts during his addicted years, to Sharon's own battle with colon cancer in 2002. What's remarkable about Sharon and Ozzy's relationship isn't the absence of problems, but their commitment to working through them, explains Dr. Eleanor Martinez, a relationship therapist. They've demonstrated extraordinary resilience and adaptation over decades. As Ozzy's health has declined, Sharon's role has evolved once again. The fierce businesswoman who once struck fear into record executives now channels that same determination into ensuring Ozzy receives the best possible care. When you truly love someone, the roles don't matter, Sharon shared recently. Manager, wife, caregiver, they're all just different expressions of the same thing, devotion. Her decision to organize this final performance comes from a place of deep understanding of who Ozzy is at his core, a performer whose identity is inseparable from his music. I want him to have this moment, Sharon explained, fighting back tears. I want the world to celebrate him while he can still experience it. He deserves to feel that love one last time, to hear those songs with his brothers in Sabbath, in the city where it all began. Ozzy Osbourne's influence extends far beyond his own music. From Metallica to Slipknot, from System of a Down to Ghost, countless bands across multiple generations cite him as a primary influence. There is no Metallica without Ozzy and Sabbath, James Hetfield has stated. He showed us all that heavy music could have depth, intelligence, and raw emotional power. Beyond music, Ozzy helped create space for authentic self-expression in popular culture. His willingness to embrace his quirks and darkness gave permission for others to do the same. Few artists have transcended their medium the way Ozzy has, explains Dr. Thomas Blackwood, who studies cultural iconography. He's become a symbol of authenticity in an increasingly manufactured entertainment landscape. As his final performance approaches, the question turns to legacy. How will Ozzy Osbourne be remembered once the final notes of this farewell concert fade? Ozzy will be remembered not just for creating heavy metal, but for his resilience, suggests Martin Popoff. His career is a testament to the power of reinvention and survival against all odds. Another critic, Malcolm Dome, offers, "What makes Ozzy unique is his humanity. Despite the larger-than-life persona, his vulnerability has always shown through. That's why people connect with him so deeply." As Sharon prepares to say goodbye to the public version of her husband, she remains focused on cherishing whatever time they have left together. Parkinson's is unpredictable. Some patients live with the disease for decades, while others decline more rapidly. Modern treatments can help manage symptoms and potentially slow progression. Quality of life becomes the primary focus, finding joy and meaning within new limitations. For Ozzy and Sharon, that means adapting once again. While the stage may no longer be accessible, music remains central to their lives. Ozzy continues to listen to new bands, offer opinions on the state of rock, and even work on music from home when his health permits. "We're taking each day as it comes," Sharon shared. "Some are better than others. The good days are precious. We've learned not to waste a single one." As July 5th, 2025 approaches, Birmingham prepares to welcome home its most famous son for one last hurrah. The city where a troubled boy named John Osbourne once seemed destined for obscurity will witness his final triumph as the legendary Ozzy Osbourne. From the factory floors of Birmingham to the world's biggest stages, from addiction to sobriety, from villain to beloved icon, Ozzy Osbourne's journey embodies rock and roll itself. Loud, chaotic, dangerous, and ultimately transformative. As Sharon prepares to say goodbye to the public version of the man she's loved for over 4 decades, fans worldwide prepare to say goodbye to a legend who changed music forever. The Prince of Darkness may be stepping away from the spotlight, but the light he cast will continue to shine for generations to come. What's your favorite memory of Ozzy Osbourne? Will you be traveling to Birmingham for his final performance? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more in-depth stories about the legends of music. Hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. And before you go, check out our next video about the untold story of Black Sabbath's most controversial album. You won't want to miss it.